I'm Jason, and this is the 2023 Lexus UX250h, the urban crossover. Now, last year I was in the UX200, the solely gas-powered version, and a couple months ago I was in the hybrid, but in F Sport design form, and both of those were dealer test drives. So this time I wanted to really get a full picture of this car, since this is kind of one of my favorite commuter cars from Lexus. And this one is the other new trim level for this year. The F Sport design was one, and the F Sport handling is the other new trim level for this year. So let's go ahead and get a full picture of this car, talk about it from the outside in, and talk about what this thing has been like to live with for the last week. Let's go ahead and take a look. So first off, one of the biggest changes here for 2023 is the fact that the UX200 is gone. There is no just gas-powered version. There's only a 250 each, so you can only get the hybrid. And before, the gas-powered one was front-wheel drive, the hybrid one was all-wheel drive. Now you can get the hybrid in either front or all-wheel drive. The way that the all-wheel drive system works for Lexus, or the hybrid system in general works for Lexus and Toyota, is that you have one electric motor to basically get the internal combustion engine going. You have one motor to control the front axle to get your front wheels moving. And then if you opt for all-wheel drive, then you get a third motor on the back axle that will kick in basically to sort of balance you through corners, and also kick in when it detects any kind of slip. Though it only makes about 7 horsepower, it's not exactly going to be a big powerhouse, help you get off the line hard or anything like that. It is really just for slip and for helping through the corners. Now, the system makes a combined 181 horsepower. Has been totally fine for the commute. This thing is a commute car, not a track car. 181 is not a small number for something that you commute in. There have not really been any situations where I felt like it was super underpowered. Now, with this being the F Sport handling version, we do have the extra drive modes. Normally we would just get the normal, the Eco, and the Sport S. This one does have a custom mode, and it has a Sport S Plus. I don't really find myself using the custom or the Sport S Plus. I do use the Sport a little bit here and there, so maybe that's not such a big deal. I wouldn't pick this trim just for the extra levels here. Now, what that custom mode allows you to do, it'll adjust the chassis, it'll adjust the powertrain, it'll adjust the air conditioning. So basically it'll give you throttle, your better throttle response when you hit the gas pedal. It will lower your air conditioning so that the power is going to the wheels rather than pumping cool air into the cabin. Not completely, but it'll redirect more of the power to the wheels. And the chassis part of it is the stiffness, because this one does have adaptive variable suspension. That is one of the big differences as well between the F Sport design, or really any of the other UX, and the F Sport handling, is that this one will get you the adaptive variable suspension, where essentially the suspension changes in the different modes. And it also helps a lot with bumps and cornering and quietness, and just in general, the adaptive variable suspension is going to give you a better ride. Now, Lexus does not know how to make a harsh ride, as I mentioned in my other videos. So it's not like if you get one of the other trim levels, you're going to be bouncing all over the place. This thing is still going to be smooth, even in the F Sport design or one of the other trim levels. And actually, the structural rigidity all over has been updated for this year, as well as the steering. The steering has also been updated for this year. It's supposed to give you more feedback than last year. Without having one from last year and one from this year back to back, it's a little bit tough to tell, but the steering does feel pretty good. It doesn't feel this like super video game light kind of steering like you get in the Camry. It actually feels a little bit heavier than that, which is nice. Actually, there's another brace on the steering gear here in the F Sport handling package, but the steering feels pretty good. I mean, for a commuter, it's still super light, still light enough for the commute, but not so light that it feels like a video game, like you're not even really doing anything. It gives you a little bit of feedback. Updated the tires to help with that NVH, the noise, vibration, and harshness, And I mentioned quietness before with the adaptive variable suspension. It is actually really quiet in terms of road noise. It's also very quiet in terms of engine and transmission noise. This does have a CVT. It can get kind of drony. If you're really stomping hard going up a hill onto the highway or something, maybe, then you can really hear that CVT kind of droning. But generally speaking, 99% of the time, you can't really hear it too much. They did a great job of keeping the noise down there. The wind noise is kind of another story. When you get onto the highway, the wind can still be pretty loud. Other things to note in terms of the driving experience here, we do have lots of great safety features. This has the 2.5 safety system, so it's the same as what I had in the ES200H, but not as good as the 3.0 in the Corolla. So one thing that I mentioned in the ES300H was that the lane tracing, that lane centering, kind of gets a little bit bouncy. It's not super great at keeping you in the center of the lane. The same is true with this one. That really only comes on if you're using the radar cruise, which this one has no matter what trim you're in. But that lane tracing can't easily be turned off just by a button on the steering wheel. No big deal there. And it does have, the lane departure, which I always like the way that Lexus does this because it's not super harsh, no beeping and loud blaring or anything in your face. Shoving you back into the lane really hard. Just gives you a little vibration in the wheel when you start to exit your lane, enough to get your attention, not enough to start freaking you out or be super annoying. And it's got all the standard pedestrian detection, cyclist detection. That stuff is always great to have. This one does have the parking sensors as well. That is an extra option actually. That is not standard. And that'll just beep at you. It's not a full 360 camera. It's just, it'll beep at you when you get close to something, and it'll give you a proximity here in the infotainment. But you do have blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. That is standard, and it works really well. No issues with that. Visibility out the front. Mirrors are fine. Visibility out the back, big and boxy. Really no issues at all there. With this being a hybrid, you also want it to be fuel efficient. It's rated at 41 city, 38 highway. That's sort of typical on a hybrid. You get worse fuel economy on the highway. And if you get the front wheel drive version, it drops about 200 pounds and it's a little bit more efficient. And so your efficiency will go up a little bit. Your fuel economy will go up a little bit. But 41 city, 38 highway is not too bad. And with me really not trying it all, using heated seats, using a heated steering wheel, stomping on the gas every once in a while, and checking out the Sport and Sport Plus mode here and there, I'm getting 36 miles per gallon. So if I was really trying, I would probably be doing it even much better than that. Another thing that this car has that is not standard is the heads-up display. I don't love the graphics. I don't love the way that Toyota and Lexus do graphics a lot of the time. The heads-up display does look a little bit dated, but it does have your speed limit, has a current speed, shows you whether you're in the Charge, Eco, or Power, basically how much fuel you're using or whether you're using fuel at all. Android Auto navigation or standard onboard nav does not seem to integrate into the heads-up display unless I'm totally missing something. But generally speaking, from a driving standpoint, it's really nice and easy to drive. It's comfortable. A lot of people seem to hate on this for some reason, the internet hates on everything, I guess, because it's basically a Corolla hatchback. But it really isn't in terms of materials, quality, in terms of ride quality, in terms of noise. It is much better than a Corolla, and I should know because it was in a Corolla just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Exterior wise, this thing is going to look pretty familiar if you saw my other UX250h video, because the F-Sport design and F-Sport handling packages are exactly the same from the outside. But this one is painted in an ultrasonic blue color. I love the way this color looks. It's nice and shiny with the metallic flakes. This is the same color as the ES300H I was in. And it's nice, compact, 177 inches long. It was great for the city, hence the urban crossover name. It has really more of a hatchback than a crossover, but it's got a slight lift, so technically it's a subcompact crossover. Wheelbase 103.9 inches. These big 18s, the 18-inch wheels are a little bit aggressive. I'm surprised that they went that big. in all the trim levels. If you want to enhance your ride quality a little bit, you can bump down to a smaller size. But this wheel design here, again, is going to be the same on ED F Sport design and F Sport handling, but there will be a different design if you are in one of the other trim levels. Again, these are on some new Bridgestone tires here that are new for 2023. These are all seasons. They were developed along with Bridgestone to reduce NVH noise, vibration, and harshness. We've got the F Sport badge going on, the black mirrors, and the black and body colored mirrors here. I love the look there. This chrome going through it, LED turn signal built in, heated blind spot monitoring. The passenger side will fold down only in this trim level. That'll fold when you go into reverse. Got touch to lock, touch to unlock. And we've got the black roof rails here. The lower trims are going to give you aluminum roof rails, and the top spec gets you this moonroof. The top two specs actually get you the power tilt moonroof as well, with the body painted wheel arches here too. Really nice, compact. Really love the way this thing looks. They've kind of nailed this design in my mind. Let's go ahead and take a look around the other side. Up front here, again, we're going to match between the F Sport design and F Sport handling packages. Love the way this grille looks, nice and big and open. Pretty standard Lexus grille, mostly open. Got a little bit of a band across here, but lots of cooling through there. Big giant Lexus logo up front, with this sort of dark chrome trim going on around the outside. This one does have fog lights. We've got the bi-LED headlights and LED daytime running lights going on. Nice looking front end. In the back end here, we got more LEDs for these tail lights. The bar coming across. Nice sort of flat-ish windshield back here, so nice, easy to see there. The black subtle spoiler and the brake light built in. Parking sensor back here. There's a parking sensor up front too, because this one does have the parking sensor, the parking package option. There's another one over there as well, and your backup camera up in here as a sort of typical hidden exhaust. This does have the optional power kick lift gate, so you do have the button on here, this little key going on here, or you can kick. So open. There we go. At 17.1 cubic feet of space back here, pretty on par with other hatchbacks. Got the little privacy cover going on. Note that 17.1, I don't think that includes this extra area down here. I love it when they do this. You get a little bit more space down below the floor, and then even underneath that, there's room for tools and stuff. And we've got a 60-40 split on the seats with pulls here to knock those down. Got some extra little hooks on the side. I don't like this when they do this, where they just fabric where the anchors go. Just I feel like that's going to get all torn up. Wish they had some kind of actual hard insert there for where the anchors go, but that's a little bit nitpicky. And the button to close. Let's go ahead and hop inside. All right, hopping inside this thing. Note the seats are back pretty far. When I turn this on, it's gonna bring me up. Wait for the beeping to stop here. All right, so this one does have the memory seats, which is why seats move up and down when you get in and out. That is standard in the F Sport handling trim level, and something to keep note of if you have somebody behind you, like I do with my 3-year-old back there in his car seat. If I go to turn off the car while he's still sitting back there, his feet get very uncomfortable. So if you have people back there, keep that in mind. It's also very difficult to get him in without turning the car on first. Now, there should be a way to disable that through here, but that is something to keep in mind. Interior-wise is where this is really going to start setting itself apart from the other trim levels a lot more. We got the F Sport steering wheel here, nice and beefy, leather wrapped. The heat is an option that is not standard, but luckily it is optioned on this one. But do like this beefy steering wheel. I like the way that all the buttons are laid out, easy to use for all your safety features and your infotainment. We got power, tilt, and telescope. And if you want paddle shifters, then this trim level is the only way to get those paddles. I feel like 99.9% of the people buying the car are never going to use those, but they're there if you want them only in this trim level. Gauge cluster here is a little bit bigger than the other trims. You usually get a 7-inch one. In this one, it is an 8-inch. Lots of great information in there. I kind of like the way they do it with the big circle there, where you can kind of make it look like a traditional tack with when you're in sport and sport plus mode. Otherwise, it's just got this kind of tells you where you're in, if you're in the charge, the eco, or power based on how hard you're hitting the gas. Has a lot of great information in here about your safety or your power, whether your power is going to the battery or to the wheels. All that fun stuff is in here. It does have auto high beams, auto headlight, your standard sort of stuff on the stocks here. If you want to adjust your driving modes, that's up here. Traction control up here. This has the big 12.3-inch infotainment screen. You've got an 8-inch screen in the other trim levels. This one comes standard with the 12.3. And this is the updated Hey Lexus system, which is going to match the Corolla I was just in. It's going to match the ES300 I was just in. It's a great system, works well. This one has been a little bit laggier than the other ones that I've been in, especially when I'm using Android Auto. I've noticed a little bit more lag, but generally speaking, has not been an issue. Simple, easy, clear, nice, big screen, easy to use. And if you want to use the voice control, it can actually detect which seat the voice is coming from, which is nice. So if you're wanting to turn on your heated and ventilated seats, which this one has because we are in the F Sport handling trim level, it will know who's asking for that. These F Sport seats are a little bit more aggressive than the regular seats. They're a little more aggressively bolstered. If you're on the bigger side, they might be a bit uncomfortable. So that's something to keep in mind. Got the leather wrapped shift knob here with the red stitching because this is the F Sport handling. Got full EV mode. It's really more for parking lots, parking garages. We've got wireless charging up here. That is an option, an additional option here in this one. But the wireless Android Auto and wireless CarPlay are standard, thankfully. You've got some extra USBs. Those are new for this year. Speaker says the sound system here. Usually you get 6 speaker. You're in one of the other trim levels. This one has the upgraded 10 speaker sound system standard. Unfortunately, you cannot option the 11s in sound system, but it is a small area, so 10 speakers is pretty solid. I always like to see physical switches, easy to use, right here in front of you, very clear. Love that. Cup holders up here out of the way. No gloss black. Love that. Well, a little bit of gloss black, but not too much. Got to do the tap on everything thing, right? Yeah, mostly nice material, soft, what you would expect in a Lexus. Now, the back seats are tight. This is where this car could be a deal breaker for a lot of people because they are only 33.1 inches legroom back there. It is very tight. My 3-year-old, like I said, if I turn off the car, seats move back. It's very difficult to get him in and out. He's very uncomfortable. But when the car is on, when the seats are up, again, I am only 5'7" though. So if you're any taller than me, you're not going to want to have passengers back there, kids or adults, as they are going to be very uncomfortable. But if most of the time you're driving by yourself, not going to be a problem. And like I mentioned before, we do have the power moonroof going on here. Always a nice touch. So overall, this thing is still one of my favorite Lexus cars just in terms of commuter. Just it's compact, it's great for the city, great for up here in New England where we have narrow roads, small parking spots, but you have the hatchback versatility. You can drop the seats down if you need it. You got that extra space under the floor. There's lots of space. The updates are great with the new infotainment, the ride quality, everything. The only real things that I take issue with are, well, I wish that I could get the upgraded sound system. But that one's not really a deal breaker. It's just the back seats are kind of small. That's really the only thing. If you've got kids like I do, or if you've got people back there a lot of the time, you're gonna run into problems with that. That's kind of a deal breaker. But if it's usually just you. You know, this is such a great commuter car, efficient, compact. I really enjoy being in this car every time I'm in it. Now with the ES300H, I had said that I would probably go for the F-Sport design, just because I didn't think of the driving modes, the adaptive variable suspension, all that extra stuff that you got with the F-Sport design, F-Sport handling was necessarily worth it over the F-Sport design package. But in this one, you actually end up getting a lot more stuff that you can only get in this trim level. So if it were me, I would probably stick with getting the F-Sport handling over the F-Sport design, just because you do get so much more stuff, and we're at 45 grand here, you know, as long as that's not breaking the bank. And I would go F-Sport handling with the all-wheel drive system. And of course, if these seats aren't too tight for you, because again, the F-Sport seats that are only in this trim level are a little more aggressive than the ones in the other trims. Thanks for watching. I have to do the standard YouTuber thing. As much as I hate it, please hit like, hit share, help me get into more cars. I can bring those cars to you, or just help me feed my habit of wanting to drive a bunch of different kinds of cars. But hit like, hit share, those are the most important things. Subscribe if you want to stick around and see what I've got coming for next week. But either way, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your friend's mom, and hopefully I will see you next week. Thanks for watching. See you next time.